Alright, welcome to this session for the GMAT verbal class covering the critical reasoning. This is my first class on critical reasoning for the course, and I'll be talking about how to study critical reasoning, how to develop interest in critical reasoning, why critical reasoning is important, and how are you going to move ahead. So this is my course of 40 hours, online course on GMAT. It covers the grammar, punctuation, critical reasoning, sentence correction, reading comprehension strategies. It's divided into 3 sets and actually 3 levels. So we are in the first level at this time. It's of 7 hours for the first 7 days, where we talk about the different type of questions, introduce you to the kind of questions, develop some motivation so that you can go ahead and read something yourself, develop that interest and that energy in you by trying to explain you how this study is going to help you in long term as well, and why this study is important. And of course you might be GMAT might be a compulsion or maybe a foundation, but GMAT is also going to help you to learn a lot. So when it comes to argument, the GMAT English is quite interesting, and the critical reasoning is based on the premise that you understand how to analyze things, and how you can understand things, how you can understand the underlying assumptions, how you can separate the premise, assumption and conclusion. So and how you can understand the clues that the question has and anticipate the kind of reasoning that the author is making. So it's about analyzing, understanding the structure of that argument, and of course for the answers you have to use the process of elimination. Now this is very important, because when you have got a case on an argument which may be a solution to a problem in a company or in your office, and you have to really understand how to link up all those evidences with the assumptions and the conclusion. So you should be a critical thinker, you should be able to think on all aspects of the equation. So that's why this critical reasoning is one of the most important and an all-time favorite of the GMAT. Now critical reasoning are in the forms of argument, and argument is the same ways in like the one which goes on. It could be called a quarrel, it could be called something related to lawsuits or courts or something like that. But there are some arguments or some reasoning being given here. So we have 3 parts of this critical reasoning argument. It has got a conclusion, which is the final thing, and it has got a premise, which is actually the evidence, or which is clear, or which is known to all, and there are some assumptions which the author make to conclude something. Now the hint for us is the kind of triggering words, the adjectives, the shade words, the understanding of diplomatic language, and we are going to come on all of them slowly one by one. So understand critical reasoning as a set where there is some evidence, something which has happened, a person is trying to assume something and conclude something, and we are going to see how good those assumptions are, and whether those assumptions are good enough, is there any flaw in the reasoning and things like that. So it's very concise, it's not like reading comprehension where you have got a lot of information. You have got concise information, so each word, each adjective, each figurative word, each idiom is going to play a very important role here. So to start with the critical reasoning, you have to understand how things are logically linked up, and the meaning of scope. Because when you are discussing something, there are people who give some logic or something which are out of the scope. You are in a meeting, you are talking about something, and suddenly a person talks about something which is absolutely out of scope, which does not make any sense to the discussion or to the meeting, and you say, oh my god, where did he got this thing from? So you must understand the scope and the direction, and you can do that by understanding the premises and keeping yourself in the author's position and understanding the kind of reasoning and the assumption author is making. So ETS rewards the narrow mind, and we have to carefully look at the scope of the options and eliminate them. So understanding the scope is very important for elimination. Let's look at an example to understand things better. So this is an argument on the top, and we are asking which of the following states the conclusion. Now we want to know the conclusion, so we must understand what the author is assuming, what are the evidence he is giving, and based on thing he is going to conclude something. So we have to go in the same stream, in the same direction. So in an effort to save money, a country's government is considering reducing its military spending. However, without military contracts, crucial industries in the country face bankruptcy, which could disrupt the economy. Thus, the same government that is reducing its military spending will eventually have to provide these industries with money for peacetime research. Thus is something conclusion or something which is a final thing. An effort to save, the first line is kind of a premise where government is trying to do, there is no assumption here. If they are doing something, they are doing something. But assumption could be that there is no other way out for these companies, however, and things like that. So let's look at the options and understand which option goes in the same direction with the same assumption, with the same premise, and also kind of satisfies the mini conclusion which says that the government that is reducing its military spending will eventually have to provide these industries with money for peacetime research. So let's look at an option which follows all these things, the premise, the assumption, and the mini conclusion that we are given after the thus. So the necessity for providing money to keep crucial industries from going bankrupt will discourage the government from reducing its military budget. It seems fair enough, but the scope is kindly different. It's about the government and the idea about what government has to do. Let's keep this option for a while. If the government decreases its military budget, it will eventually be forced to increase military budget to the formal level. This is not the case. He's talking about what will happen and how the government has to do some other options like give money for peacetime research. B is out of scope. The industries that receive research and development money will be successful in their efforts to convert into peacetime research. Of course, out of scope, because the premise here is that the government is decreasing. The assumption is that if that happens, then they would close down, and the conclusion or mini conclusion is that the government has to give them money for peacetime research. So C also goes out. In the event of war, the country would be unprepared for this. Of course, goes kind of 4 steps ahead. So let us resolve the things. We cannot move anything beyond these premises and conclusions which are given to us. Reducing military budget to save money will result in some increase in other type of spending. Fair enough. E seems the best option, the concise one, and in the same way where the thus is going, because if the government decreases it, the closest or the best option, which if there was no E would have been A, that the necessity of providing money to keep crucial industries from going bankrupt will discourage government from reducing its military budget. But it's not just that. We are talking about the sentence following is about what is the government going to do and how is it going to affect the government. So E is the best option here. A is tentative, but the best option, we are talking about the best option, the uncontroversial option, the option which takes into all those aspects which we are looking for. So E is going out, B goes out, C goes out. A is a little bit tentative, but E is the best option here. So these are the kind of critical reasoning with the questions which come where you need to understand the premise, the assumption, the mini conclusion, the directions, the triggers, and do these questions. Now there are 8 type of questions that you can see in the critical reasoning. We are going to cover one by one each and every one of them, and maybe I'll try to make a 15-minute video of each one of them with a question. So the first type is that passage assumes that it's clear cut. You have to extract the assumption. Second thing is strengthen the conclusion, means you have to give something which strengthens the conclusion. Weaken the conclusion means again you have to point out mistakes. Best inferred is what you can infer. Resembles a methodology or parallel reasoning is that you have to mimic the reasoning what is given. Resolve the apparent contradiction means some option which strengthens and which makes the assumption more strong by giving some more evidence. Bolded phrase and which roles they play, and which option is more useful in evaluating a logic, most useful in evaluating a logic. So these are the type of questions that you can see in the GMAT critical reasoning. We are going to do each and every one by one. So we'll start with the assumption question, look at one, then we'll start with the strength of the argument question. We'll do one question, understand how to do, then we'll look at the weakening the argument, then we'll look at inference question, and then we'll look at parallel reasoning question, and we are going to check out all these things in the first class and understand. So the course material, the first week is based on GMAT Princeton, as I've been telling you. And if you don't know about the course, it's a 30-day course, a 30 hours plus 10 hours course for the month of June. This might be possible that I'll extend this course to July. So the presentations are given on my website, and this is my website where you can check out the presentation and the links to the recorded classes.